Now loading.
How you guys doing?
We're
I'm
doing
good.
good.
Yeah, you're good. How are you
Good. Yeah,
today?
you guys. Yeah, like I said before, you guys are looking super smart. Yeah, what have you guys been up to?
Who wants to start?
I think you should, man.
All right, so
Yeah,
I'll start with our brief, what we've been
yeah.
given.
Just say
So,
also say your names as well.
yeah, I'm Alberto. We're
Yeah.
first years in architecture school, in Architectural Association. Jim, what's your name?
Yeah, I'm Chester.
I'm Kaan.
I'm James.
Yeah, so we're all first years in Architectural Association, and I'll start going through my work, I guess. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
were tasked with different briefs between us, and in our university, it's more like exploring design in the first year, sort of being more introduced to the concept of architecture, I guess. And me and Chester are in the same brief. So we're going through how to study curves and how they affect light. So the brief before, which James was in, we're building upon that brief, analyzing the curves they created during their brief, and then creating a structure from that or a design. So at the moment, I'm trying to introduce sort of more biomimetic design in my architecture. So in my design from a sail curve, so a curve that's been generated from a sail. So we're analyzing the sail, how it's produced different curves through wind, tension, and its properties. So from that, we can develop and then analyze into a new design that we can sort of reproduce in real life. So one of the main challenges in our brief is trying to conceptualize how we can actually construct this in the built environment, in the real life. So we're sort of trying to, manage materials if they're actually doable to make on such a large scale. And
Cool.
being introduced to, real life, I guess.
You guys are looking like, you know what you guys are looking like right now, like an architecture band. Architectural band, like boy band.
Yeah. Do you want to go through what you're doing?
Yeah, so as Alberto previously mentioned, we're in the same brief, and that is to build upon James's sail curve. And so, more specific to me, I had to sort of look at inflatables and how they were constructed because the curve itself was formed through air pressure, as how wind would blow onto onto the sail, and then that's how the curve was generated. And so the idea was that because inflatables are filled with this sort of pneumatic system, that it would allow for the curve to like expand outwards, not only longitudinally but also through the sides. And so it's just sort of exploring that as well as like how it would be actually constructed in the built environment. So looking at what companies would sell, the dimensions of the materials, and based off that, how the design would change. And yeah, just exploring all those different ways of actually constructing something in real life.
I think it's quite intense because in first year, you don't really understand real world application yet. So I think it's really good we're being introduced quite early, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Because I guess you're getting a lot of theory, right?
Yeah, cool.
So it's yeah.
That brief structure is kind of special to the first year, actually. Like in the next years, we are introduced to the unit system. So different units like interested in doing something, like one is interested in parametric design, or like the other is more like the environment, and it changes and like they have around 18 units at this point for intermediate program. So in the first year, we are like mostly on the skills that we need to use in the next years of our education. So we are like learning programs, how to draw, modeling, lots of different things in different briefs, and it gets randomized over time. So like we all learn different things in the end of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like the foundation is being built
Yeah, definitely.
at the moment.
I'll just build on that. So like, for example, one brief you'd be focused more on like, say, analog techniques, like learning how to say like draw cross sections or like plans and elevations or figure ground plans, like very like sort of manual, sort of like how previous architects would. And then so another brief would be more heavily focused on like Rhino, AutoCAD, and like more modern or like technology incorporated. And so that way we get both sort of
Yeah.
worlds, and that allows us to like, okay, next brief, which tools work best for us, and that way we can produce a more viable outcome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James?
Do you want to go through?
At the moment, sorry, do you want to ask again about what kind of brief I'm doing at the moment?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm working in the same brief as Kaan, actually.
Yeah.
And our tutor has us, he's an interest in these kind of large scale architectural complexes. Like you often see big school complexes or religious sites, social housing projects, these kind of things. And he's interested in their spatial composition. The negative space that's created is there public space that's created within these complexes. I think there is kind of a modernist trope of this, tending to design stuff that looks like pretty from a floor plan or from an aeroplane. It's a really classic, quote. I think it's Jan Gaal who said something about that. And so I think we're very early stages in the brief, but it's, I think we're sort of getting to exploring the relationship between like these geometries, but then what kind of real space does it create, and is it useful to people who will use that space if it's like a school or if it's a social housing complex. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I can add that it is quite flexible in terms of analyzing the spatial composition. So you can like think about grids or like layers. So it's multifaceted in the thing that we are doing. So I think it's really supportive to learn how to read a space. In our case, the composition of the space, but still it gives us a good lens to look at in our future projects, I'd say.
Okay, cool. And so what do you think has excited you the most so far?
I think the ability to be free in your design, I guess. So at the start, it was quite a rigid structure, and now we're being introduced to sort of creating our own style within architecture. So sort of finding yourself, which is actually really interesting. So I think that's a really good, like at our uni, they have like a really high capacity for, creating your own identity in architecture. So you're not sort of forced to do one thing, which I really like. Although we're in the same group, we're doing like completely different things to do with the same object. So it's quite interesting.
Okay, so it's almost like you're all contributing towards the same puzzle, I guess, but you're adding different parts.
Yeah, different roots
to the puzzle. Yeah.
I can also add this though. I think besides the education that we're experiencing in the school, I think the social interactions that we are doing is quite important as well, because when we just design a poster as a joke, maybe it still helps a lot to like learn stuff, and also
I think
I don't know, we try to improve ourselves doing extracurricular stuff as well.
Yeah, I also wanted to say that, like, I know compared to like some other unis where I've heard it's like, people would be very conceited in their work and they wouldn't really want to help other people. But I think one of the good things here is like, it doesn't matter. We're not in competition with each other. We always want the other person to do like better, even if it's like the same brief, like we're always more than happy to lend out like our skills or like our ideas. And I think it's a really nice environment that everyone like sort of listens to each other, because at the end of the day, I think people will have the mindset that it's like, we're not trying to harm your design, we're trying to like help out or like provide another perspective, which I think is really useful, especially in like first year, where you're just trying to like start off and you want as much support as you can get. And especially if it's coming from the student body, that really helps.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And can you name the school that you guys go to?
Architectural Association School of Architecture.
That's for the people that are going to be listening.
Yeah.
Some people that might not be well in tune with the architecture space and are curious about it. Some people that are super obsessed with it. So Yeah, it's good to know where you guys are coming from
Yeah.
as well. Yeah. So you said that you guys were working over the weekend. What were you guys doing?
So I'm at the moment trying to 3D print. So I had to develop like a system in this software called Grasshopper, which is like an additional coding software in Rhino. So I'm trying to figure out how I can generate a pattern that could create like a skeleton for my model that I can overlay on top. So sort of decreasing the weight of the object and trying to make it more flexible. Like in my design, I'm including light sensors so it can change shape and dynamism in its structure. So yeah, it's a usual thing in architecture school. I think it's quite you don't really get time to do anything else, so it's quite a focused degree, which I really
Okay.
like. Yeah.
Are you guys like studio rats?
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
I'd say architecture, it's really great if you're passionate about it. If you're not, or anything less than passionate, it's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of commitment that goes into it, and if you're not enjoying it, then it's long. But James, what
So
was
you.
you?
Yeah.
I just came in a couple hours ago to get some studio time in. But
I love it.
working on it's called a massing model. So it's just basically a big model of a site where I'm making these complexes out of wood based on a reference that I was given. So yeah, I'll graph for a bit this evening, but then still planning on a normal sleep schedule.
Very rare.
Yeah. So are you guys has I guess the course that you're doing now and the work that you're doing now, has it made you more conscious about the real world? Just that how it applies to the real world.
Real world is. I think we need to contemplate on it a little more because we are being exposed to a lot of different types of mediums. So, and mostly the architects who graduated from the school are kind of use their skills to tell architecture differently. Like if you can see the examples of the models of like OMA, basically you can see the differences in the storytelling of the project or the idea, different from the other practices. But still, I think we are able to learn about real world as well, because as we are told about the materials, we are using these materials to understand and like try to scale them up and see how that works in the in a bigger scale as well. And also we have like a subject called ETS, Environmental Technical Studies, where we design like load-bearing pavilions or like bridges. In this term, it's a bit different from the first one. But in the first one, we were basically making a pavilion, which we load tested and like also like see its shadows and try to manipulate it with new iterations.
Okay. Cool. So do you guys have like a favorite material at the moment?
Play something quick before we leave.
No, I was maybe just gonna say that there's nothing like. I mean, the real world is not in school. It's out there, and I think the AA, the Architectural Association, encourages people to take a year out between third and fourth years, and I think that's a good thing. They encourage you to go do something different. It could be related in terms of building a skill set, but I think it is important to acknowledge that, like, while you can tackle, like the issues of, technical load bearing or shadows casted like we do in a lot of subjects, there is something to be said for actually. I mean, architecture is about people who experience it, and there's something to be said for just sort of getting out there, getting out of school, I think. And so I guess with time, hopefully we'll be more prepped for the real world, whatever that is. I've also spoken to a few architects who say like, they learned the most in their first year on the job, compared to their sort of 5-6 years of schooling. So it really, I think it's maybe like a personal growth thing as well. I don't know, but that was just my 2 cents on that.
Man, that was
Okay.
solid.
So what I guess at this point, what does architecture represent to you guys? What do you think it symbolizes?
Do you guys want to start?
It's everything. I mean, I think that's why we're studying it.
Yeah.
It's so multifaceted in the way it's like created, I guess. But
Yeah. There's also there's the process behind it, and like how you can get something to the built environment from a plan, an idea, sketch models.
I think
Then
it's
doing more sketches after that, rendering, and then checking all these, using different tools to help you. So actually construct and visualize it, but also to present it. But I think architecture sort of symbolizes, the implicit. I think, in my opinion, right, good architecture is implicit. You almost don't really notice it when you're going through a building or a space. All these things, they all work together.
Subconscious.
Yeah, exactly. To like fabricate something, you wouldn't directly notice, but because it's so good that it's just there.
There's such a considerate degree of human experience. I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly.
But still, I think like architecture has a different way of becoming a meaning to people, because in my personal experience, I started to understand buildings with the mass housing in this Soviet era mass housings in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
So like when I was around 5, I was like seeing those buildings and becoming disgusted by them because of their appearance. And through time, I wanted to learn about it a little bit more, and also understood the people's experiences in those buildings, which the architecture affects a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think architecture, it's embedded in almost anything that you experience, anything that is designed, but it goes far beyond the realm of design. I mean, as an education, I think it's incredibly rich, because you're touching on economics, like macroeconomics, how people's behavior is affected by their built environment, social and environmental issues, social justice, all sorts of incredible history, incredible theory, philosophy. So there's so much to tap into, and personally, that's why I think I chose this, is because I can sort of pull from so many different threads and inform what I want to study and hopefully what I want to do professionally one day. But it really does. I mean, we're incredibly biased because we're all studying this.
Yeah. I love the bias though. I love the bias.
Maybe someone who's listening and who's like studying business or finance will be like, oh, they have no idea about the real world or anything. But like, I think there is something to be said about how architecture is a universal experience. You live in a city or you don't live in a city. If you live in a shelter, or even if you're not in a shelter, these are issues of architecture. If you have a house, if you don't have a house, if there's rubbish on the streets, if the streets are clean, like these are all things which inform how we should design and how we should study. And I think for me, that's why it's a calling in that sense, and why it's so rich in education, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot. What about Alberto and Chester? What about how has your journey with architecture? When did that start? How did your relationship with architecture start?
I think since I was like young, I've been really interested in trying to create somewhere that people can inhabit or experience, I think. And I think it's like when you look at a building, for example, it's that like questioning that makes you want to like study architecture, I guess. It's like, why is it bad? Why is it good? It's understanding like the reasoning behind why something's made. I think the main thing that drew me to architecture was like this collaborative nature with humanity and this sort of like critical, I don't know, embodiment of just like a society at a certain point in time. I think it's sort of like an embedment in history, I guess. But yeah, that's sort of like my interest in architecture. It's sort of creating like a inhabited environment that people can, I don't know, have a good experience with, an experience. Yeah.
Oh, that's very genuine. No, mine's something a bit similar to what James was mentioning about like how architecture could be used to like adapt to social economic change. It's so because I'm from Hong Kong, and
Okay.
so there's a really large disparity between of wealth, and so like some apartment buildings would go for millions, even if it wasn't say a really large ground of space. But then there were these also things called cage homes, where it wouldn't be bigger than say 1 meter by 2 meters, and people would be like say an average room in the UK, 30 people would be shoved into those areas, and I'd go onto these feeding walks where we go into the streets at night handing out essential supplies to those in need, people who were homeless and whatnot. And I saw all these sort of things, and it just reminded me of like how like, I wanted to sort of like bring a change to that, and I figured architecture was really one of the most practical ways of doing it, and how like design itself, as James so cleverly mentioned before, is such a powerful tool. And the thing was, I think for me, like my journey for architecture, when I had really strong passion for it, it started when I was 13. I enrolled in this young architects program where every week we would design something very similar now. We get a brief and then we go through all the process of design and then we design. And the first project I got was it was a project about how to tackle sort of like the really large homelessness in Hong Kong, and it was through a method called co-living, where several people would sort of live together and work towards maintaining the sort of facilities of the building in that way that it can sort of be self-sustaining. And that idea always kind of resonated with me, and I was trying to sort of provide a good sort of quality of life whilst also being practical and suitable for my own city.
Oh, that's really cool. Like visually, you took me through that journey. Visually, you took me to Hong Kong. Yeah. Interestingly enough, in terms of just dealing with homelessness, I remember when Kanye was working on, it was like the dome homes. He was, so it was like it was actually the design was like inspired by Star Wars. Actually, if you Google it, you'll be able to see it. I think there were some contractual issues, so he wasn't able to fully bring it to life, and allow people to live in there. But I think the goal was for people that were low income housing, people that were homeless, to be able to live in those homes. And I thought it was interesting because it was him trying to solve the problem of homelessness, but also like tap into pop culture as well, because it was connected to Star Wars as well. The design was very Star Wars inspired. So I felt what he was trying to do was not only support those that were in need, but also inspire people as well. Bring more attention to just architecture in pop culture as well. Because I think, for example, something like a Star Wars, you might watch that movie and not pay attention to those types of details. But they're actually there.
I think it's also representative.
I thought that was interesting.
Identity and culture. Like, we can just make a building and let people just live in it. Like, homeless people can just put people in, or you can include a sort of like personal element to it.
Yeah.
While still having their own cultural identity, I guess, too.
Because you look at like sort of Eastern and Western sort of architecture, you can see very clear differences, and that's also not only influenced by culture but like resources, as well as like technological like hindrances, and see like how because of those say limitations or opportunities, those two different branches or several different branches of architecture grew from that.
Definitely. What I've started to realize as well is I feel like architecture is getting more appreciation from like the everyday person. People that are in architecture, of course, you guys love it. That's you love it. But I feel like the everyday person is starting to appreciate architecture more. Architecture is starting to get more appreciation. I don't know if have you guys noticed that too?
Yeah.
I think I don't know about them, but say for me, because like it's always been something about in my life as well now, considering the community I'm with, they're all also very much into it just as much as I am. That's quite hard to say no to if like the person who wasn't studying architecture, they had the sort of same passion. But I think it's a nice thing to hear that people are taking more interest in it.
Yeah, as well. I like how people are becoming more critical of the spaces they're in,
Yeah.
and it sort of brings to light the good architecture in the world and how well thought out design can be appreciated.
Yeah, because I feel like go on.
Yeah, but I don't really know a lot about the UK example, but in my case in Turkey, um, there are a lot of stigmas that we need to break through time, and I think that can be achieved with the education of design with people, because uh, design is like our main skill when it comes to architecture, or like any other subject like graphic design, etc. But still, architects are generally uh, including most of the design techniques that the other majors are also using. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. Okay. No, you know, I thought you was gonna. I thought you had more that you was gonna add, but yeah. Okay. I get that. I understand that as well. Um, I think architects are rock stars in their own right. That's what I believe. Because I think the ability to really transform spaces and um also dictate experiences as well. That's a superpower in itself. That's some rock star
Some
shit.
rocks.
That's some rock star shit. Yeah, that's some rock star shit. So I feel like um that's where I think people are starting to really become more curious about that. You know, because I think there is a science to having the ability to build things that people can experience and that can transform different environments as well. And obviously, it starts with. I guess it depends. I don't. It could start with the design. It could start with specifics of dimensions and what have you, or it could start with okay, who is this being made for? What community is will this transform? You know, so I wanted to know from you guys is what do you guys think the best approach is when it comes to building a space or building an environment? Do you start with the designs, the technical details, or do you start with I guess the community or the community or the people that you are building that space for? Or does it matter what you start with?
I think one start.
I can actually say a few
Yeah,
things
yeah,
about
sure.
it. So, I don't know, seeing from a lot of different architects back in my country, especially the people who are like successful in their work objectively, need functionality, etc. They are looking to the project as the problem, and they try to solve that problem with their knowledge of other buildings, which we can call mimesis. So with that, you're able to take that information into the back of your brain and then put it onto the project and like connect a few more dots and propose a project that is able to solve the problem that is given with the proposed project. So I think it's important to think about projects as like a solver.
Yeah.
And I want to do projects like that in my future career as well.
Yeah.
So because you can make something visually appealing, but there should be a reason behind it. You can't just make it for the sake of it.
So like that
Even-
first, yeah. Solution to the problem first comes first. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's sort of where I was thinking as well. So like, yeah, you obviously have like the legalities and the budget. But yeah, of course, first we should solve what's the actual problem, what needs to be created to solve that problem, I guess.
I think stepping back from that, it's also about like contextualizing the space, like factoring in all these different sort of elements, like outside of like very practical things,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like budget and like feasibility. That's for civil engineers to figure out, right? It's like it's trying to look at like what limitations you have in terms of like, okay, what's actually, say, like for example, in real work is what the client wants, you know, but also like what are the cultural constraints of a certain space. You know, I think one of the like a very explicit example would be once again back in Hong Kong. There was this building that was built with very sharp corners near the sea, and one of the main religions in Hong Kong was Buddhism and Confucianism, and they believed that this very strong, like short, jagged-edged building would harm the dragons that would flow from the mountains to the water. And so, how they were able to counteract that was by putting water cannons, which were basically construction cranes, on various buildings, pointing at the bad energy coming from the building. You know, and I think that
Okay.
ties in. You know, it's a bit comical, but like these are like the very sort of like various ways that like architects have to sort of maneuver around, you know, these problems and like make sure like try to reach a solution that can make most people happy.
Yeah. Compromising.
Yeah, compromising.
So that, I guess you have to be really aware of the cultural norms.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
context encompasses like the history, the buildings around, the people. To sort of, yeah, that's probably the most important thing.
Because I feel like if you start getting too technical with things, you know, like, and you just ignore like larger problem at hand, you can have a really nice design, but if it doesn't really tackle what you want it to tackle, you know, I think that's why I thought sort of like going big to small rather than small to big. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going big to small.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I just said I just chirped in with the environment, but I think what we're touching on is there's no thinking, at least in what we've been taught, and I would say there's not much contemporary thinking, which is sort of the top down anymore. Everyone is really, I mean, it's hard to go into a place, I think, a project and not immediately consider environmental issues, social issues, who's living there, who isn't living there, the materials that you're using in terms of cost, embedded carbon costs. Also, all of these kind of things, I think, are in the conversation. You know, possibly 50, 60 years ago, in the heyday of modernism, the architect was really, I mean, you had that was the era of the sort of the starchitect, where you have like a really a designer who knows everything, who's in charge of everything, you know. So I hope that when I move into the workspace, these conversations will continue, and it seems like the right approach, but I mean it's always changing, I guess. And it's also worth remembering though that as architects, you are, I think someone was touching on this earlier, you're sort of at the overview with the problem solving. You are also tied down to the demands of the client.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you are sort of inherently locked in this like supply demand. Like the client needs something, you sort of meet those demands, and that's how you're employed. So yeah, there is that level of you have to sort of get that done. But I think this contemporary approach is yeah, grassroots, bottom up, community driven, uh, environmentally considerate. At least I hope that's how most people are thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I've started to see is a lot of people that have studied architecture have, I guess, applied those principles into making things, and they've almost approached the things that they've made in the same way they look at a building or a space. So if they're making a physical product, they've almost approached it in the same way.
Yeah.
And I think those are the designers that I've seen online that are really they stand out the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like one of the main examples is Virgil Abloh, I think, definitely. So I think the way he deconstructs items like the shoes, for example, and puts them back together, sort of, I think it's really thinking like an architectural sense.
Yeah.
I think that also just shows like how potent, the methodology that goes behind creating things, especially if you're trained to be an architect. It shows how much care as well as like authenticity you need to have.
Yeah.
Sort of go back and like design not only a product, say a product of building, but that creative process in itself. It's quite meticulous.
Yeah.
But the output, it's something that's very, stand out in a way.
Yeah. There's a guy called Raki Tech. You should check him out. He's on Instagram. But he did study architecture. But now he's making loads of cool products, and he's definitely still utilizing like architectural principles that he learned, and he's applying it to the stuff that he's making. So he's pretty cool with the stuff he makes. Is pretty cool. You should check him out. Yeah. I wanted to talk to you guys about just architecture's role in pop culture, because that goes back to what I was saying before about the everyday person is starting to really appreciate or become more curious about architecture, by maybe revisiting nostalgic mediums. Let's say like a movie, let's say like an iconic moment in sports, or a game, or it could have been like let's say a fashion runway show, and previously they would have appreciated the experience of that actual medium. But I think with the nostalgia, now they're starting to pay attention to the role that architecture played within that, or how architecture was placed within that particular thing. So I think that's really interesting. That's something I'm starting to see more, also myself as well. So I wanted to know what you guys think about, I guess, the role that architecture plays within the pop culture space.
I think that
because I think it plays a huge role. It might not be like the the main focus at times, but it definitely allows everything else to function at a high level.
Yeah, I think it's so integral in being like a harmony, like a harmonizer of multiple different like facets of, I don't know, film or media or music. So, for example, concerts and the architecture of the stage can create a feeling of the actual like an album or like its encapsulation of that point in time. Yeah. So, like Blade Runner, for example, the architecture within that, it wouldn't be the same movie if the architecture didn't look like that, for example.
Right.
So I think it's so integral in, yeah, I don't know, setting the scene, I guess.
I think
Definitely setting the scene. Yeah.
I think your Virgil Abloh example is really important.
Yeah.
Where we see architecture or like his playfulness in pop culture more and more,
Yeah.
and it also help people to do those kinds of stuff in their own workflows as well, separating from architecture while like still connected to it. And also, as we also have like a exhibition right now in our school, which is people who were in the same class with Virgil Abloh, not in the same class, but he was their tutor,
the tutor,
and they continued their playfulness or like pop art related works in furniture design or like in game design, for example. They designed cars for like Fortnite, the game, and like
Yeah.
I also really like the exhibitions like playfulness because even a 5-year-old can like touch the objects that they're doing and like try to understand it, which is really important to our to future architects, young future architects,
Yeah.
to understand what they're dealing with, what they're doing, and yeah, I think these exhibitions are like really important for people to understand how it affects the pop art, and also they are seeing it in the pop art culture of the media as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. One of, I think seeing architecture within pop culture, within a pop culture lens, also is a great form of translation as well.
Yeah.
To, I'll say mainly to the everyday person, really. There was the Yeezus tour, Kanye's Yeezus tour, where he had the mountain stage, mountain stage design, and so with that he worked with an architecture firm called Family New York. So they're not operating anymore, but at the time they worked together to design the mountain stage, and that was I don't that probably hasn't happened. That probably didn't happen before he did it, in terms of an artist collaborating with architects and building this stage that is his physical world almost. But you can also appreciate it in isolation as well. So I feel like that was a really interesting collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the architects within Family New York, her name is Juana Staniscu. She said that Kanye really made her feel like an architect.
Yeah.
Because she felt like within the architecture world, you only really get looked at as an architect after certain years of work that you put in.
Yeah.
And she felt like working with him, he already embraced her like an architect, and it made her feel. It gave her even more like motivation and inspiration as well, because he allowed her to tap into his world and build around his I guess his identity
Yeah.
with the user store. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it can be such a useful way of artistic expression, I think, in like a realized sense. So I think, yeah, I guess.
It has
Yeah,
been
definitely. What?
happening in the sphere of like the theater or um, performance. There's definitely some pretty uh, good examples of architecture involved in set design for sure. And it's often touted as like a possible career outcome for people who have studied um, architecture. But I'm also just thinking of Aldo Rossi's Teatro del Mundo as maybe a seminal project when it comes to theater and architecture, and this idea of the ephemeral and temporary structures, impermanence, but then still having very significant um, cultural value and a knock-on effect. But perhaps you're kind of tapping into the fact that it's being recognized on such a at such a scale in terms of pop culture. I find that very interesting, not necessarily as a good thing, in this sort of hyper commercialization of architecture that tends to happen, I think, where the attachment to maybe the Kanye name is about selling, uh, yeah, selling an identity or a yeah. But it's super interesting how that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were talking about, how architects in general are sort of more and more in the conversation of contemporary pop culture and design. There's some kind of gravitas to be, attaching the the professional decision making of an architect to a design project, um, which is interesting. Again, I'm not sure if I'm on the fence about if I think it's a good thing or a bad thing, but
Yeah,
it's
that's interesting. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Is there um do you have like a favorite moment where I guess architecture was placed within uh, a certain medium, a creative medium?
No one is.
off the bat. When you were talking earlier about architecture in other media, I thought of movies. I thought of Blade Runner. Um,
Okay.
there's this movie, what's it called, Metropolis, I think it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think kind of captures. It's interesting. It's this intersection of filmmaking as a bit of a novelty, a new media, and then also a new medium, and then this real fascination with the scale of our cities. I think so. That's definitely an interesting moment. I mean, it's also something that a lot of our tutors always bring
Yeah.
us back to as a reference. Um, yeah, I think architecture in movies is always an interesting, and it sort of again
Yeah.
ties into set design and that kind of thing, theatre. Yeah.
I think for me, one of the most potent ways I saw architecture, like in new media, would probably be in video games.
Okay.
I used to play a lot of Destiny 2, which is known for its sort of like fantasial, ephemeral, like sort of environment, and the fact that you're a character that can move throughout the space and like look at all these like sort of different forms of created by the architecture within the game. It really allows you to sort of like appreciate because there's a lot of points aside from when you're like on shooting things that you could just walk around the map, and just sort of explore it. And I think what contributes a lot to that is how the game designers sort of took into account okay, how do you indicate to a person they need to go through this direction to proceed to the next part? It's like make it even more narrow, open a bigger space, And these were things I didn't really notice before until I started learning more at the AA, and I sort of like started taking into
Okay.
account like how did the game designers really make each thing intentional with how they created this? But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's really interesting. Yeah. Because there's certain games where you have to like enter a building, or there's like a stage of a game. I know back in the day I used to play loads of Tomb Raider back in the day. Yeah. And there used to be certain parts of the game where Lara Croft had to enter like a building, and that's where she had to encounter like different like wolves and different animals, and it made you feel like you were in the building, But at that time, I guess I wasn't thinking about the details of the building. But when you look back, you realize that played a huge role within the gaming experience.
Yeah, it's also just like about storytelling as well. How architecture can be used as a tool for storytelling within the game, which I think is really neat.
Yeah.
I wanted to say like it also like the mediums that we are like seeing or like watching or like playing is really attached to the culture, because I'm thinking about the dystopic cities of like different productions. Let's think about like Japanese animes like Akira, Evangelion. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but like we see like cities being big, but like in an event of emergency, they start to disappear or like go under the soil or like become a cave. I don't know, but in like more like Anglo-Saxon productions, we see like a castle when it comes to like a dystopic city. Think about like zombie films. So like I think we can also like understand the architecture's uh, availability to be changed by the culture of the production.
I think going back to music industry, like the stage design and the sort of the experience stage can create. Like it's really interesting to see how architecture can be, I don't know, utilized in that way. So I think like even like the Utopia by Travis Scott.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it's really
Utopia
mad.
was crazy. Yeah, Utopia was crazy.
But like on that scale.
What do you guys think of him saying he wants to study architecture?
I mean, again, I think it goes back to the same thing. It's like it interrupts the way you think. Like, it creates a new strain of thinking, I guess, in design. But
yeah. But initially he said he wants to study architecture, and then he's kind of in more like recent times he said, okay, because he's kind of helped to design his set design. He said that there's times where he has ideas for stuff for his stage where the people that he's, I guess, spoken to or relayed those ideas to, they haven't been able to figure out how to actually make it become a reality, make it become a physical form that is functional, that can work for him on stage when he's performing. So he was saying that he wanted to study more of the engineering side of things, so he could understand. He could understand more about the functionality side of things. What do you guys think of that?
I think for his case, he may be right, but still in architecture, we have a concept called paper architecture, like Archigram and like Super Studio in Italy. Their concepts helped us to think about architecture in a different side. Even though if we are not able to do create the things that are like thinking of like walking cities around that time, maybe in the future it will be like a blueprint for our like new designs. But like if yeah, for a person who is not particularly doing architecture, learning about the how to process of things is more important, I guess, because as for Travis, he has ideas that he wants to translate into a real into his real stage, and I think he already knows the artistic part of it.
Yeah.
So that's why he is like thinking about the engineering side of building a stage or like creating a design, etc.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Really
And I
interesting
think,
to
go on.
articulate yourself and be able to generate an idea without going through someone else.
Yeah. Or even if you're going through someone else, you can at least actively contribute towards it without feeling hopeless or, not understanding like the process of how it should work and how it should go. And I guess because he has the vision, he wants to be able to be part of every process to make that vision a reality.
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. But he seems like he's generally interested. I don't think he's just saying it just to say it. He seems like he's serious about learning more about it. So I think that's I like to see people that are curious and that want to gain more information and learn more.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting thing.
100%.
Do you guys have like a favorite architect?
Who wants to start?
I think I go through phases of enjoying different projects and possibly for different reasons. The first one that comes to mind, favorite project that I'm sure you were going to mention also is this Bidi Bidi Performing Arts Center, which is in Uganda. And it was done by some guys at Hassel Design Studio, and it's a really great project of bringing good design using local materials with minimal cost, minimal budget, and maximum output and use of the building in terms of the community who's using it and what's produced from that building further. So it's a performing arts center where they record music, they dance, the community comes together to discuss things. The building also collects rainwater for them to drink. Sorry, I didn't give much context, but it's in it's in a refugee camp in Uganda.
Okay. And what did you say it was called again?
It's called the Bidi Bidi Performing Arts Center.
BIDI.
Okay. When I edit this, I'm gonna put it on the screen. So
So
I'll add it.
Inspiring project about bringing some good design and intentional design and creating something that appears complex, but with really simple solutions and really effective in terms of who's using it, the materials that are being used, and what comes after the building as well. I think that's not discussed enough in architecture is the perhaps the intended lifespan, and then also the intended product of the building in terms of who's going to be using it and for how long and for what reasons and what purposes.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Those reasons.
That's really important. Yeah. Because I'm so for a big portion of my life I lived in Stratford. In East London. And the London 2012 Olympics was in Stratford, right? So I think one of the main reasons why Stratford was used was because it was a good it provided great links for different areas as well. And there was also loads of space available. But one of the things people were worried about was, okay, so after this Olympics, how is this space going to be used? Will it be utilized? Will it just go to waste? But I think they've done a great job of repackaging the like the stadium and the facilities around it, and finding ways for it to be used in different ways. I know because I know that like the London Stadium is being used by West Ham,
Yeah.
the football team. So during the season, West Ham are using it, and there's been times where there's been concerts used within the stadium as well, and also like different competitions. So they could be like I don't know, like an athletics world championships or different events have taken place within the stadium as well. So yeah, that just came into my head, James, when you were talking about longevity, because I think that's a huge thing as well within architecture. Longevity is a huge thing as well.
Yeah.
How can that form of architecture still be used over a long period of time? How can it benefit the wider community? Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
Very important sphere of our discipline.
Yeah. Who? Yeah. So, favorite architects?
Shall I continue?
Yeah. Continue. Yeah.
I think I want to point out something different about architecture and its use. The architect that I want to talk about is Kaan Sen. You probably don't know him, but he's like one of the most popular architects in Turkey nowadays. And
Sorry, what's his name?
Kaan Sen.
Okay.
Kaan, you can write it.
Okay.
I'll send you the message. bro.
Yeah.
The architecture he does is more like looks like interventions. Specifically, one of his buildings called B2 House is awarded with the Aga Khan Design Award or Architecture Award. And looking at that building, it really blends into a village area. And also, like there were a lot of comments by the villagers coming to see the building, saying that it feels like our houses, but it doesn't look like our house.
Yeah.
And through more inspecting the building a little bit more, the materials that are being used is coming from the area that the building is being constructed, and also I don't know. I'm really excited by the blending concept in architecture, because I think sometimes architecture should be quiet. Like I think Albert, you said about it. Huh? You said it. The details and the time spent to design the building should be recognized after a little bit of time spent in the building, or like paying an extra attention to it, because it shouldn't be loud. Yeah.
No,
Okay, that's interesting. What about you, Chester?
I think favorite architect, I'd probably go with or favorite project instead. It was the Howard King House in Islington with by Future Systems. Lead architect was Jan Kaplinski with his partner as well. I think the reason why I liked it so much was because in that specific neighborhood, it was designed as a family house, but all the other sort of buildings and structures around it were red brick, sort of, and it was very like what do you think is like a prototypical, sort of like an English neighborhood
Characteristic.
yeah, exactly. And I think what made that project particularly interesting to me was that it was still given the same like limitations and parameters. It's like it had to be this certain very narrow sort of space, but the way they worked around it was they used various materials such as glass, like all around the facade to let in more light, as well as the form and shape of the building. And that combined with like materials like aluminum, creating balustradings that would connect 3 floors together to create one really large open space. The reason why I mentioned it so much is because it was the first site visit I had to do whilst I was here, and so I actually got
Okay.
to go see the building, and it really it stands out compared to the rest of the other structures on the street. Aside from that, I could tell you which architect I dislike.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a fan of his hot take. I don't really like his designs. I mean, he is referred to constantly. Yeah, I think he's one of the most famous architects as the grandfather, father of modern architecture. But the reason why I don't really like agree with his designs is because it lacks a lot of character. I believe, like it's very much function over form, and because of that, like it erases sort of what I think is human identity.
Yeah.
Like things I like if I wanted to go into space, I wanted to know like, okay, what purpose does this serve? I don't really like that sort of like minimalistic, very sleek, and it almost feels robotic and artificial, which I don't think is like in some contexts and cases this is very like it's imperative in architecture. But I think more often than not, what people really want is like to be seen, as well as like to have their like sort of own identity and representation within the building itself. Yeah, and that's why Le Corbusier is my op. But yeah,
Okay, I like that. Okay, okay.
I think for me, my favorite architect is like not really an architect, but sort of architectural research. You know, Neri Oxman, like Oxman Studios,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
do like really generative sort of biological structures. I think I like that aspect of changing architecture to be more temporary, I guess, but still like inhabitable. Like the structures will like be disposed of by the end of it, but having the lifespan that doesn't damage the environment in a sense, but sort of aids it, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
One of my favorite like site visits in the UK was one of my first ones was Clerkenwell Close, like Amin Taha. But I think it sort of really found a way to change the context of the environment, like in Islington, of being like really like brickwork and marble to be, I don't know, more raw and sort of, even though it's using the same materials, it stands out in a way that's like really identifiable. I mean, even like the stone was flown in from France, but has like the history and rooted aspect of the land around it. So it's really incorporated the context, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, what do you guys think about, I guess, collaboration amongst architects?
I think it's the most like important part of architecture, really. If you're working in a firm, I think collaboration is so integral to the design process. I think everyone can sort of aid each other in that sense.
yeah,
I mean,
Even our like tutors,
Yeah.
sometimes have like different takes on our projects. Like one likes it, one doesn't, but it's still like constructive feedback. So that's why collaboration is important among
Yeah, for
each
sure.
other as well.
I think just like any creative field, there is a level of subjectivity, but it's also about like having your own confidence in your design to say no, I really like this, I want to keep it, but also like being able to compromise and be humble, and you have to understand it's like check yourself essentially.
Yeah.
You come into this and you learn, and you have to sort of understand you might not be able to see things the way other people have seen it. It's just like it doesn't even have to be say like a tutor, for example. Like obviously they would probably have more experience, but then once again it's like there are many cases where like say a student would provide better work. I remember it was the memorial in America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Vietnamese one where
Yeah.
like the professor graded her like a B or something, and then at the end they both submitted their designs,
Yeah.
and her design got built because it was just that much more powerful. But I definitely think like as them two were saying, collaboration is key.
Even
Ever since
yeah.
primary role, collaboration.
Even
is key.
outside of architecture, like if you collaborate with an industry like music industry, for example, I think it taps into another aspect of culture, and again like context, I guess, that you wouldn't otherwise have. So I think it's really good to be in tune with other industries and other, I don't know, humans. I guess. But
Yeah,
in that sense.
yeah. James, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, I think in anything we do, it's always better with other people. So, and it's hard to do architecture without other people. You're working with engineers, you're working with people who, local communities. You're working with all sorts of professionals within the sphere of architecture. So even if you operate under your own name, it's never just one person. So of course, it's sort of integral to how the profession operates, I think. But also personally, I just think it's a good thing. It's good to listen to other people. Super important in anything you do. Be open to listening and just hear some different opinions. So I think that for me, that's personal. That goes outside of architecture. It's just like, have some empathy and listen to people because they
Again, in an industry that's so important to human life, like other people are going to be experiencing what you create. So it's so important to take into their account, like their opinions and their lifestyles. It's not like if you're an artist, you can just paint what you sort of want to enjoy or paint. I think, in that sense.
Yeah. Because that has such a strong impact on other people.
Yeah.
I think it's, that's where sort of working together as a team. If it's sort of something for society, you have to be in a society.
Yeah.
Is that bars?
It's true. It's true. You do have to be in it to transform it.
Yeah.
Like you can be on the outside and analyze it, and that's great. But to fully transform it, you do have to be in the mix.
Yeah.
In order to touch and feel things.
Yeah.
And in order to transform it. What do you guys think that architecture can ever have like an underground scene?
I mean,
Underground scene.
In what sense?
Yeah. In the sense of like
Something that goes unnoticed?
not necessarily unnoticed, but I guess a situation where I guess new ideas or new ways of thinking that maybe like the established firms haven't really been able to tap into yet.
sort of like a maverick.
Maybe
product.
down the line they tap into it once it rises up, but the initial conception of like certain ideas, certain themes that are being created on, I guess, quote unquote, the ground level or the community level. Do you think that exists or that can exist for architecture?
Because it's like artistic in a sense, I feel like there's always going to be a pioneer, like a maverick, that can sort of path a new way. But I guess I don't really have that much to say, but
I agree. I don't think there would be like unless one of you boys are that maverick. I really think of a specific example, a specific type of architecture or field that's like, that's going to be the next big thing. But I do definitely think, especially where we are now, is in this exact room of lawn, or like we're currently in this room lawn where like I think James, you would be more versed in explaining what lawn is, though.
But lawn is so impossible to explain.
it's unexplainable.
Lawn is run by David Green, who Kaan mentioned Archigram earlier. Very important postmodern group in the UK. David Green was a member of that. And he runs this program Lawn, which happens one lunchtime per week. You just kind of show up. There'll be anything from people presenting interesting projects to just discussions to repurposing old models. So it's kind of just like it's anything goes type. It's just a discussion and
I think on that beat, the reason why I wanted to bring up lawn was because where we are right now with so many people just like throwing stuff at the wall and then inspiring.
I'll send you some images.
Okay. And just seeing what sticks.
Yeah, it's just what sounds about like, so one thing could just inspire another person, and how did that something else comes out, and that causes sort of like evolution and like cycling through different things, it creates like this atmosphere where like everything's on hold.
I think the underground thing is kind of revolving around students and like,
Okay.
and also there are quite a few programs who are like trying to include, I don't know, younger people or like community members into architectural thinking. But I think mainly the students are the acting voice and the force on the new movements or like new ideas in architecture. And also
Okay. Okay.
bigger
So
scale.
you guys are the underground. You guys are the.
Yeah, our uni. Yeah. Well,
It is like a discussion space for other university students as well. We have quite a few other students from other universities coming here to discuss with us or like, I don't know, share a beer with us and have a talk, see what's going on, and show what they're doing in their education as well.
I think the word underground for me, again, I'm just going to mention unnoticed is what I think of, something that's not really seen by like the architects or the head.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that this thing happens all the time where you have like a hegemony and a counter hegemony, and like there's a dominant idea and then a reaction to that. So I think that happens all the time. A really sort of strong example that's springing to mind is Jane Jacobs, who is an urban activist. Maybe Milan will come talk about it.
Yeah, so there's these two wonderful architects, Milan and Yuri.
How you doing?
Jane Jacobs was basically a city planner wanted to build a huge highway through her neighborhood, and she protested. And a lot of like contemporary urban planning thinking stems from her writing, which came from her protesting, just as an extraordinary citizen. But I think that's one aspect of this underground nature. And then another thing I maybe want to quickly mention is looking into other disciplines. Because I said before, architecture is everything, and of course I'm biased. But there's
I like. You might need to trademark that. Architecture is everything. That has a ring to it. That has a ring. Yeah, I think I got goosebumps when you said it.
No, there's a book I read. Well, I didn't actually read the whole thing. I read a few chapters from this book, Nudge, by Richard Thaler, who's a macroeconomist, and he basically makes an argument that everything in our surroundings is constantly influencing how we behave and how we make decisions. And he says people who are in charge of an environment, he calls them choice architects because they are able to influence other people's decisions. So the first example he gives in the book is a cafeteria lunch lady who organizes where the food is put for the kids when they come for lunchtime. And he says that it doesn't make sense to do it randomly, because if you're trying to make a salad and the lettuce is over there and then the tomatoes over there, it wouldn't make any sense. So you want to group things together and you want some level of organization. But he says that that the lunch lady is a choice architect in her ability to influence the kids' decisions. So she can, I don't know if, I can't remember exactly, but he quotes some studies where they discuss like how people's choices are impacted by these small decisions. So that's a really, and something that I was interested in for a while. I think translates really into architecture more generally, of course. Also borrows the term architect. So there's lots of little things in other industries or professions which you can borrow and bring into architecture. And maybe it's not an underground scene, really, because it's not like Richard Thaler is incredibly well respected in this field. But just a novel idea, maybe. I mean, it's not so novel anymore, but those kind of things pulling from other disciplines is always worth looking at.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm definitely gonna check out his book.
Yeah, it's super.
What did you say the book was called?
It's called Nudge.
Nudge. Okay.
Nudge, just like nudge someone. Yeah.
Okay. So you're nudging.
Yeah.
You're nudging society.
Yeah.
You're waking society up to a new way of living, or new perspective.
For sure.
Yeah. I like that though. Architecture is everything. I like it. There's a. Do you guys know OMA?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a prime example of what you were saying about just tapping into other disciplines.
Yeah.
Because they do that too with AMO, their research studio.
Yeah.
And that's where they've done like runway shows. Like they've designed the sets of like the Prada runway show.
Yeah.
They've built a world for those shows. So they've done a lot of different things, and they worked with who did they work with? So they worked with Kanye early on as well, actually, because they did there was like a 7-screen pavilion that they built for him for the Cruel Summer album, the compilation album. I think that was like 2012. So there was a movie that was being made for that at Cannes Film Festival. And OMA were basically behind building that 7-screen pavilion where the film was being premiered. So like they're super like forward thinking, and they already understand the importance of tapping into other spaces and incorporating architecture within it. So they're super.
Maybe,
I think they might be ahead of their time even.
They might be underground.
I was gonna say a nice example.
Maybe AMO is their underground vehicle. You know, even though AMO is huge, but
I was just gonna mention a nice example, maybe to link to our school, OMA. One of the members, Rem Koolhaas, studied and taught here. He taught Zaha Hadid, and I think it was Zaha's master's thesis, which she worked on. Yeah, which she worked on with Rem Koolhaas, was taking reinterpreting Malevich's suprematist paintings, which are very tectonic and spatial in how they sort of laid out, and interpreting those as space and buildings, which at the time was, I think it's maybe been rehashed quite a lot now, but at the time was pretty, pretty radical, I guess. And then they went on to start, OMA.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, from the get-go, I guess, they were drawing from loads of things from outside architecture. Rem, I think, was even he was a journalist before he became an architect. So very interesting background for them.
Mm-hmm. So what do you guys feel is like? What do you guys think the role of the architect will be, I guess, over the next decade or so? Like, do you think the role of an architect is going to evolve?
Yeah.
Like their position within society, do you think it will evolve? Do you think it will change? What do you think an architect's role should be or will be just going up like over the next decade or so?
Yeah, Kaan, what'd you say?
Because that's basically you guys. I'm basically asking for you guys, but I'm asking what what you guys think.
We'll still have a job. Hopefully,
Yeah.
there'll still be financial
You're talking about
security.
like society and AI.
Okay.
I think even though if you study architecture, you can do other parts of design. So I don't think there will be a huge effect on us. But if you are thinking about AI and its improvements through time, I'm thinking of like a future stamp by companies that's going to be used that is saying like this is not AI over their products or something, just to continue with their competition of production or like artistic uh, value that the company is giving to their products and their designers. So I don't think there will be a huge issue for architects in the future, in like in the decade.
Yeah, I think it's very similar to like how like once say AI, right? Obviously the like trajectory of where it's going. You look at clips of Will Smith eating spaghetti and meatballs a few years ago, and how AI generated that image compared to now, it's drastically different. So who knows how far or how high AI can go in terms of how useful it is. But I think in terms of architecture, what Kaan said, a massive red stamp that this is made by a human might be the case. But then yet again, I think, say personally, right, I much rather have sort of designed by people, that takes into account certain things that I wouldn't say I necessarily can sort of figure out. But I'm not worried.
And also, there are no like, solid examples of AI being used for architecture.
Yeah.
I think there is one firm called Studio Tim Fu, but they're designing villas in a Eastern European country. But like, I think AI may be useful for architecture in like emergencies. Think about it. Like 2 years ago, a massive earthquake happened at the southern side of Turkey, and still they are trying to create the urban mosaic alive again. But it's really slow when it's being done by the people. If the AI was able to cooperate with the firms to do the final plans of the buildings for construction, that may have been a good use of AI, but that is not being used. So I can't see it really as a logical way of architectural tool.
I like to ask though, but to what extent do you think it turns from a practical problem to an ethical problem?
Come again?
Because it's like, say, for example, like I don't know, in the theoretical, in the theoretical right now, say if AI was used to create the plan. AI used was to create like say, okay, this is what the builders have to do, and then in an event that like it wasn't accurate or it wasn't like up to code, and then that building falls, who's that to blame? Because certainly like if AI is the one making it,
Yeah, but like it's not specific. I don't know. Probably safety features will be used in the future. When we are talking about AI, we are also like talking about its danger. Twice as more we talk about its accomplishments.
so would it be better to like say have it as like a base and then people itself would actually read it over it?
Yeah, I think it may be used as a tool in the future.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I was going to add in, I think the AI discussion was very well wrapped up there, but I also think that the profession of architecture changes all the time, and it always has been. And I think we're incredibly fragile in the sense that like we have to directly respond to things like recession. Like if we're in an economic recession and no one's buying buildings, then there's no work for architects, or there's less work for architects.
True.
So things like that, of course, influence the future, the near future, for us. And then also, I think climate change is going to massively influence how we operate and what we're building. And because climate change is not just environmental; it's also it's also it widens inequalities that pre-existing inequality, and we're sort of on the cusp of this. Winters are getting shorter, or like weather's getting more intense, and buildings will have to respond to that, and populations are increasing. So dealing with economic disparity in the context of climate change, I think it's going to be a massive challenge for architects in the next 10, 20, 50, 100 years. So yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Alberto, what about you?
I mean, I think it can, again, I think people will say this most likely, but like be used as a tool to be a companion. Like I remember you saying, Marvin, when we met at the exhibition, that they were using it in CAD software to sort of regulate their designs and sort of automatically do, I don't know, like the boring part of the job,
Yeah.
I guess, and allowing us more freedom in our design. But yeah, like I hope it doesn't take over, but I still think you can sense the soul. If you look at an AI image, people say that, oh, it has no soul. But I think that's still a thing in architecture. You need the human input into a building, I guess, to make it feel alive. And yeah.
Right, because I guess the human is going to take into account certain characteristics that I guess AI probably won't.
Yeah, feeling.
The feeling, the touch, the senses,
yeah.
the energy. Yeah, the I guess the things that bring an environment to life that maybe you can't see, but you can feel it. You can feel it,
Yeah, for sure.
What was you gonna say?
I was gonna say sorry.
So as you guys are continuing to just study architecture and learn more about architecture, do you find yourself as you're out in the world, you find yourself looking at different architecture do you find yourself having to read it, or are you interacting with it in a different way because you're on the other side as well?
I think I'm more, as a person, considerate of the space and how it's designed and constructed, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
I'd say I'd be more so appreciative, seeing all the time and effort and all these different sort of things that factor in. It's like to a degree critical, but then I think Alberto really, he phrased it really nicely, considerate, not too harsh, but also, to a degree, it's nice about it.
Kaan, what about you?
Do you interact with space differently because you study architecture?
Yeah, because you're able to see behind the curtain, right?
I'm way too interested about the material aspect of the real building and the construction of it, because even though the building as an idea is really praised, the outcome of it and the final version of it may not be the thing that we are not expecting. And also, growing up in Turkey, I used to see a lot of badly constructed buildings. So I still look around my hometown to see how are the buildings are being built, or go into construction sites. Saying that I'm the son of the architect, or just seeing what are they doing is really interesting for me. So yeah, interacting with the building is way more interesting and helpful for you to understand the ideal behind the project.
Yeah.
James, what about you?
I would say I'm enjoying understanding maybe more about how buildings are constructed. as I'm progressing with my studies. And yeah, as you say, see behind the curtain, read that layer a bit more. Yeah, that would probably be. I mean, I'm sure it'll change as I keep studying. But it is cool to look at something and understand it better.
Yeah.
Does that make the experience better for you guys?
I mean, yeah, it depends. I think you're more critical of where you are,
Yeah.
or you can enjoy it more. Like it's
Yeah.
sort of polar, like in a sense. Yeah.
Guess it could also help to inspire you sometimes.
Yeah,
If you
for
really
sure.
like a certain space, you can sort of break down what elements make it so enjoyable, as you said.
Yeah.
If you really hate it, you can also break it down.
Yeah.
Figure out how to do it, you know?
Yeah. It's reasoning, I guess.
Do you guys see yourself working on anything together,
Hopefully,
like in the near future?
Yeah.
future competitions, look
Yeah,
out.
future competition.
We'll be there.
Gingerbread next.
Yeah, definitely.
There's hope. There is hope.
There is hope.
There is hope.
Because the chemistry is there.
Yeah.
The chemistry is
Yeah,
there.
so why you go to architecture?
Why we
schools,
go
yeah.
and study this.
Why we can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been great. This has been a really
It's been a pleasure working with you, man. It's good
So
to
much.
really
Yeah.
good conversation. You guys are really, I can tell you guys are really passionate. You guys are curious. I can feel the energy through the screen. You guys are really curious. You're passionate. You're ambitious,
Yeah.
and you're really into what you're doing as well. Like I love to see people that are really into what they're doing.
I think it's good, yeah, as well to step back and actually talk about it.
Yeah, I know.
Because when you're in it, you don't think about it really.
Yeah.
So you need to
Yeah,
holistically
okay.
I haven't really had the opportunity to sort of bring these things up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because sometimes you're in it, which is great, because you love it and that's your world. You're in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta take a step back and
Yeah.
kind of look at it from a 360 perspective, and then you
Yeah.
can really understand, like, wow, this is what it is, and then you go back into it, and then you go back into it with a better,
Yeah, you can deep-
well-rounded understanding of it.
Yeah,
So, yeah. What have you guys got planned for the rest of? Well, it's the
Back to studio.
evening.
Work.
So. You guys gonna head home?
We're gonna go
yeah.
upstairs.
Back to the grind.
Yeah, back to
Oh, you're okay. How long are you staying? How long are you gonna stay?
till 10.
Yeah, it's,
Till 10. Okay. And how long have you been here today? There today.
we came in, I came in quite late today.
Yeah.
Today was a breather compared to what usually
Okay.
is. But
Okay.
yeah, usually it's like
10 to
like
10.
10 till 10, yeah, 12 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then more after that.
Great.
And then all nighter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this has been amazing. What one thing can you guys after this, can you guys like get a picture of you guys?
Yeah.
Like you could just use your phone or something. I just want to use that for something.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, really appreciate this conversation. You know, is
So much.
I've learned so much from speaking with you guys as well. So
God.
this
Thank
has
you.
been really good conversation. I feel super inspired as well. So many gems that have come from this as well. Like James, what did you say? Architecture is everything. Architecture is so many different gems. So
Title.
really good. Kaan, you've taught me more about Turkey. Chester with Hong Kong. Yeah, and Alberto, really good to connect with you again
It's good to
from when we met initially. So
yeah, for sure.
hope you guys just continue to just do great things,
Thank you.
and yeah, continue to just be curious and continue to just go for whatever you want to go for. You know, I already feel that anyway. I already feel like you guys feel like you can just do whatever. There's no limits. There's no one stopping you. So yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
you guys are the future. That's how you gotta feel. You gotta feel like you're the future. You know, you guys are gonna be amongst the innovators, amongst the people that really change things up. You know, you have to believe that before it even happens.
Yeah.
You know,
More
so,
mindset.
yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks again, and yeah. Have a good rest of the day.
Yeah, you
Good
too.
evening. Yeah.
See you in a
All
bit.
right. Take care.
Bye.
To